Hello, hello, and welcome everyone. Hope you are all having a great day wherever you are, and hope you are as excited as I am for this space today. We have a fantastic lineup of women involved in Web3, and I can't wait to hear from all of them. But first, let me see if everyone joined the stage, the speakers. And as we are waiting one more minute for everyone to connect, let me introduce myself. My name is Cynthia, and I'll be your host today for the next hour. I'm part of the Cartesi Foundation Marketing Department, and I'm happy to always be in close communication with all our community members on different channels. And I joined the space in 2018, and when I look back, I definitely see how far this industry has come, and I can't wait to see how it progresses into the future as well. And thank you for tuning in today, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you for being here, and hope we'll learn great stuff together. And let's get this party started. Right? We have everyone here. Looks like we do. So I'll pass the mic to our speakers to introduce themselves. So please, ladies, take the mic and tell us a bit about yourself, how you joined this industry, and your current role in Web3. Who is going first? Diana, you go first, then.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, first cap off the rank, I just want to say congrats to the organizers, because it's been like months since this was just an idea. I think, Payal, it's way past your bedtime, but we did it. Like, here we are, because this came from a conversation of just like how intimidating crypto can be, and that we don't think it should be like that, but it is. And this is our, small step towards making, dismantling these stereotypes about who belongs and who doesn't belong in this space. So I'm actually my name's Deanna, by the way. I'm on my journey of being less intimidated myself. I think it's a common thing. And I can actually pinpoint the moment where I like forcefully turned the trajectory of my more like personal life more than my career, but I turned the trajectory away from intimidation and towards like just being brave instead. And I can tell you more about that later on, but for now, as for the introduction, I'm a software engineer. I write code for robots. I have a master's in robotics, and I've spent the last 9 years writing code for innovative educational, medical, and like even like space robots. And 3 of those years were completely in open source. So these days, well, in general, I don't work in the crypto space, so I'm here as like the non-crypto representative to show that it can be done, because my passion is in making all types of technology careers feel accessible to everyone, especially traditionally underrepresented groups. And I can't think of a better way to do that than to just showcase what other people have done against all odds, depending on who you ask. But it's not as difficult as people sometimes think. So that's my intro, and I'll give you any more details when the time's appropriate.
Thank you, Diana. We started well with a non-crypto representative in crypto. Who is a crypto representative? Then shall we go for who is taking the mic next to introduce themselves?
I can go if you want. So my name is Valeska. Nice meeting you all, and thank you for this initiative. I think I am one of the non-developers in the lineup, and like Diana was saying, I was also intimidated by blockchain and crypto and all of this world for a very long time. Actually, I started learning about Bitcoin back in 2015 or 16, but I thought it was like utopia, or it was too far away from me. It somehow I couldn't reach it. Of course, when the market went up in 2000, what was it, 2017 or 2018? I don't remember that December.
December, yeah.
December, right? Yeah. I remember it was December. And there, of course, I got much more interested, but also I saw how people were drawn by the speculation. And this is something I didn't like at all, because, mainly before my Web3 journey, I'm a financial coach, and I've been helping people online for over 10 years, and like individuals and small businesses. And then it was actually I've been following Gary Vee for a very long time. I love his work and what he does as a marketer. And he was going into NFTs, remember, in 2021, and he created VFriends, and I was part of that community. But I had a lot of work, and I couldn't really understand what was going on, and I had a lot of FOMO. So I actually, at the end of that year, I talked to my husband and I said, actually, he's a developer. And I talked to him and I said, look, there's something going on here. I need to understand what blockchain is. And I think this is going to be good for both of us. So I kind of bargained with him, like I would take a sabbatical year off and just go my own way and try to find, like, what is this? What is blockchain? So I joined one project, Unit Network, and this is how I started. I was trying to see like how my skills could fit into this industry, and I just started helping them run events online and offline. And I then went to Web Summit in Lisbon. I attended Herdau's Women Hack there last year, and that opened up a whole world for me. And I remember Yip, she was on the stage and she was saying like, "Hey, your life can change in 1 year if you're in this industry," and it did so for me because then I met my now co-founder, and we founded Block and Change, and we started creating a movement in Spain for blockchain education around the the impact of blockchain and technology in general. And we just hosted a hackathon and an on conference last week in Madrid. It was a big hackathon, one of the biggest ones in Madrid, and it was very good. So I'm really happy I joined this industry. I've been learning a lot, and I'm still here to learn a lot more. So thank you for having me today, and yeah, I give the mic to somebody else.
Thank you, Val. You mentioned Herdao, and we have Tracy here from Herdao.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So yeah, I'm speaking from the Herd Out account. My name's Tracy, Tracy Bowen, and I've been in the crypto space for over 10 years now. So I started to kind of hear about crypto around about 2012, 2013, bought my first Bitcoin. But I was always, apart from a bit of degen trading, I was always wanting to make the leap from retail to being a builder. But then it was very difficult if you weren't a developer. All of the people building projects were developers. So, it kind of took a while. But 3-4 years ago, or is it like 4 or 5 years ago, I managed to be a part of a really great creative tech lab in England. Did some building there. I was very much into data then, and built like a decentralized data union. And then I was like a radical exchange fellow. I built like a decentralized kind of music streaming data union. And then actually it was whilst I was building those things that I was trying to get more diverse teams. And it was quite hard for me to do that. And I thought, well, if it's kind of hard for me and I've been in the space for a little while, then it's going to be, pretty hard for other people. And that's kind of where I just stopped building like software sort of products. And I thought, I should really concentrate on building the pipeline. And that's how Heard I was born. And this is where I kind of am now. And I think people are quite kind of bemused by the fact, because my prior career was a musician, so they're like, how does a musician come into this space? But I think rather than being techie, I was always a futurist, and I was like that even when I was creating art. So it seems like a very familiar space in terms of creativity. I think the best people are obviously always creative. So yeah, that's kind of my little journey.
Absolutely, so nice. So we have a musician. What other surprises we'll have next? Geraldine, you
Well,
go next, or in
yes.
Spanish?
I will speak in English too. Well, speaking about musicians, well, I'm an actress, I'm a singer, and well, I begin from the beginning. My name is Geraldine. Everyone calls me Jerry. I'm from La Plata, the capital of Buenos Aires, and I'm part of the community team at Think and Dev right now, which actually means that we work for the community. We are the ones that organize hackathons, workshops, all kinds of events. Plus, I'm the one who presents on our Twitter spaces and the one that appears on every video, reel, and stream we do. So basically, I'm everywhere. um, and how I got into Web3 was actually really funny because I have nothing to do with technology in my life. But my friend Carrie, who I think it's somewhere here, she had been working for Think and Dev like for like a year when she needed someone to help her. As we were working together by then, producing a musical, uh, well, we produced actually one big musical for us, which was called Back to the Hits, and it involved music from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and we also sang and danced there. And well, we were working there together, and she said, "Hey, do you want to come and join me doing all this producing stuff?" And I said, "Well, yes, of course, I'd love to." And but I didn't even know what blockchain meant by then. And well, here I am a year and a half later trying to learn everything. I'm not an expert, but I'm learning, which is awesome.
This is it. This is it. All about learning. But I'm very excited to hear you're an actress because my sister actually, she's also an actress. She studied theater and now she works in crypto, in on-chain crypto investigation for one of the biggest exchanges. So
Awesome.
everyone has such a creative story.
Yes.
And let's. This is so awesome. Let's see what other surprises we'll hear. Nyakio, you want to go next? Nyakio, how
Eh,
do you say your name?
Yeah, hello. I'm Yakio. I'm really happy to be here. Well, my journey into Web3, it's not like super fascinating, but I started as I was like a Web2 developer and got a role as a software tester with Zippy. And given like it's a Web3 company, so I had to learn a lot about blockchain and Web3 so I can be able to test their applications and everything. And that's how I got into learning and got into blockchain and Web3 and started Web3 development. Like right now, I'm gradually getting into like roles into like really developing stuffs in blockchain, and it's really fun. Also, I'm a community manager. I've been involved in several uh, communities in building developer communities around Web3. And yeah, really interesting. Yeah.
Very inspiring. And finally, not last but not least, Helen.
Hello, hello. Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Helen. I'm the current grant steward for the Cartesi Grants program. We are basically funding public goods and builders building novel applications on Cartesi. And yeah, my journey to crypto started I think around 2021. During the rise of DAOs, when people were talking about DAOs as future of work, I was very interested in public goods and open source software. So I joined Gitcoin DAO and evolved to ENS, where I've been a co-contributor for a whole year, and then now making impact on Cartesi as a grant steward.
Great, great. Thank you, everyone. Your journeys are so inspiring, and I'm super happy we gather here such a diverse group of women with different backgrounds, with different skill sets. And I think this in itself should be encouraging for even more women to join this industry, right? As there is no one size fits all, and everyone is welcome. And we actually need everyone, more women from all walks of life, in order to build fairer systems and better tools and more powerful and better products in the end, right? And for everyone to be well represented. And as I mentioned, encouraging women to join this Web3 space, and as Diana said, to make it less intimidating, I think we need to start here with you, because you basically don't have a list of steps for doing this, but you just have one big step, one jump from Web2 to Web3, all in one hackathon weekend with a book read on the plane. I've seen your tweets. So we're happy and proud that Cartesi have been part of your journey. And tell us more. So one of your first experience, Web3 hackathon, first time a solo hacker at Ethereum Global Lisbon, and you ended up directly on the stage as top 10 hackathon finalists. Like, how is this even possible?
Yeah, thanks. I guess that's the part that I left out of my intro, is that, like, yeah, I stumbled into hackathons and I did well at them. And I guess it's being too generous to say that I stumbled into it, because the reality is that that is the biggest hurdle. And so I actually want to, like, take it back to that very first step, because I feel like that's where in my story, like, there was the most growth. It was when I signed up actually for my first hackathon. And sometimes we celebrate achievements that come out at the end of this, like, I don't know, process of challenging yourself. But normally it's the beginning of the process that, to me, I think deserves the most celebration. So you mentioned that, like, I read an Ethereum textbook on the plane over to a hackathon, but I was originally just going to that event because my friends were going to a hackathon and we were just meeting up in a different town. And they're crypto people, that's what they do. I didn't understand it. That was for them and not for me. But I'd kind of been with that vibe for maybe a year by then, and I was like sick of it. I'm like, you know what? I have a feeling that if you guys can do it, then I deserve to at least give it a shot and just see what it's like. Which isn't to say that I could do it as well as them, but just, like, give me a go. And that I mentioned earlier that I remember, like, shifting my mindset into being, like, less intimidated by things, like trying to be, it's an active sport, but trying to be less intimidated by things. And that came from, like, as a robotics engineer, I've been the only woman in the room for my whole career. And when I challenge people on that, sometimes I'm met with, like, not an excuse, but an explanation of, like, yeah, well, women aren't applying to these jobs. And that could be, like, the end of the conversation. But what changed my, like, approach to life was when I got some insight into, like, why sometimes women aren't feeling capable of different things. And maybe you've heard, or if you haven't, like, it's not so much a statistic. I think it's more of an anecdote that women won't apply to jobs if they're, only meeting 9 out of 10 of the qualifications, compared to someone else feeling more entitled, perhaps will only meet 6 of the 10, and they'll be like, yes, this is absolutely for me. And just calling that out and seeing that this is a pattern of behavior, then I was like, this applies to me. Where did it come from? And what can we do about it? So that is when I was like, okay, this is not, like, me feeling intimidated by things is not necessarily a self-confidence thing. In the case of, like, job advertisements, people have dug into where that comes from, and it's not that, women need to be more confident or whatever. Sometimes it's just genuinely not understanding the rules of participation. Like, if you actually think that you need to meet 100% of the requirements, you're right to self-select out of that. And I think that this happens in, like, any sort of technology space, is that people misunderstand what is actually needed as, like, the rules of participation. So I have the goal in this session to convince our audience and recording listeners later on of two things, which is that if your goal, whatever that first goal is for you, in terms of crypto, it might be signing up to a hackathon, but it might just be like taking a class or reading a textbook. The first is that I'd like to convince you that you are qualified to do that, because there isn't really a qualification that is necessary to start something. We heard so many stories of people coming from, like, people being in this space for 1 year or something. This isn't that it's a minimum of 10 years experience in order to show up to any of these things, because otherwise no one could be here. It's just too new of a space. And then the second thing is that on top of being like qualified, you're actually capable, because the skills that are necessary in order to not just show up but do well are things like persistence and learning and leveraging community. And these are all things, in my experience, I'm good at, and the women that I work with, they're also really good at. So that's my goal. And now I'll probably get back to your actual question of like, what did that look like for me? So yes, it was reading a textbook on the way over. That's like the prep, you know. You have to be brave enough to sign up for things, but you don't have to just show up and I don't know, start from scratch. You can train, upskill yourself, and then you get to a hackathon and you maybe have looked at like some of the sponsors. So when I worked with Cartesi, I had already looked at the tutorials for Cartesi and sort of done some prep to understand what I didn't understand, so that then when you're at a hackathon, you can actually leverage the mentors that are there, for them to give advice on the projects that you work on. And in particular at East Global Lisbon, I had like these jam sessions with people from Cartesi of just like, I've got this idea, I wanna do something that's important for society, and I think Cartesi is a place for me to do it because of how you can actually use tools that I'm used to. So you can use like OpenCV, for example, which for me is like a computer vision library that we use a lot in robotics, and you can use it suddenly on the blockchain in a way that I didn't realize was possible. So that was a smoother entry point for me, was to actually write code like I normally would, which now is possible with Cartesi. Compared to in the past, you know, we heard Tracy say that everyone used to have to be developers, and that's totally not the case anymore. You don't have to actually learn Solidity to work with blockchains anymore. You can actually just work with tools that you're used to, thanks to these, like, I find a really incredible technical advancements that Cartesi has been making.
Absolutely. Thank you, Diana, for all these insights, and shout out to our Cartesians who offer mentorship at the hackathons. And one thing you said that really resonated with me is that it's a new industry in the end, and in the end, everyone is experimenting as well. So there is no one overqualified or with 10 years of experience, as you said. And you know, as a fun fact, I met someone in a totally different context in Barcelona, and they were like, "Oh, I remember the project built with Cartesi and the girl presenting on the stage in Lisbon."
Me?
That was a proud moment, and I was, it's a small world. That was Cartesi, and that's Diana. And yeah, very, very glad that Cartesi was part of this journey of you becoming a finalist there. And
Yeah.
one quick question, like, why did you choose to build on Cartesi? Like, why did it make sense for a Web2 developer to pick Cartesi from the entire list of all other projects participating there?
I mean, it depends on what your goal is. Like, sometimes the goal, when I went to a hackathon, the first hackathon that I went to was in Amsterdam, my goal was to like see if I could do what my friends were doing, I just was sick of them. I don't know. I don't think they actually did anything to make me feel this way, but I internally was like, you know what, I can do what they are doing, and I can be brave, and I can learn Solidity, and how hard can it be? And I wrote some smart contracts with Solidity. This is like the Web3 language. And so that was my goal for the first hackathon that I went to, and I won some money. I made a cool project, like that was great. And I challenged myself to learn a new thing and love the experience. It was different when it was in Lisbon, my goal was to try out another new thing. And my eyes, like my jaw pretty much like hit the ground when I was reading the sponsors, because ahead of the hackathon you can see what kind of crypto organizations will be there that you can leverage as mentors. And reading about them, I saw that Cartesi let you actually just do like regular applications, but then leverage the security that comes from blockchains. And so that absolutely piqued my interest, that it was possible. And I knew that this was at the time where like OpenAI was kind of the hot topic. And I was like, you know what? I bet I could like get some, I guess the personal challenge that I was signing up for was, can I drum up some interest in a project that I made, kind of like a mini founder? Can I make something that people are interested in that is with my skills? In this case, like I ended up deploying a large language model onto the blockchain, leveraging Cartesi, and I was like, I'm going to get people excited about the potential of like ChatGPT, but leveraging blockchain, just to see if I could do it, and it worked. And like you said, like people now they know about it from these other places. Like I don't know, this again, it's for me that's it's I'm there to push myself to see what I can do. I'm there to like see if I can give a pitch in 5, if I can prepare a pitch in 2 hours after 2 hours of sleep and like with my heart racing, can I do it? And it's a strange sort of like challenge or stress that we put ourselves under voluntarily, but for someone like me, it's a lot of fun to push myself like that.
And you did it. Yeah. Congrats again for
Thank
that
you.
achievement. And thank you for sharing your enthusiasm with all of us. I guess we are all feeling it, and hope your story will inspire many more Web2 women, why not, and Web3 to take this leap of faith and just join a hackathon. And I'll circle back on some other tips. But as we started to speak about hackathons, we have Nyakio here as well as another developer actually participating in a hackathon as we speak, because some of you might have already seen this. Yesterday, Cartesi started its experiment week. So this is a week-long hackathon where all Cartesians from different units and from the extended ecosystem are participating in building with Cartesi themselves and bringing themselves new ideas to the table. And Nyakio is part of Zippy, a long-term Cartesi partner. And this week, she and everyone else in Cartesi, it's building with Cartesi. So now it's my turn to ask you, Nyakio, Claudio serious. What are you building? So what are you building with Cartesi this week, Nyakio?
Yeah, we have an idea of building Cartesi on Bitcoin, which is really an interesting idea. Well, Bitcoin has this kind of like virtual machine like EVM, but it's called BitVM. Now we're using it to kind of like build Cartesi on Bitcoin. I'm still like at the moment trying to kind of like try to write some taproot script with Rust, which is really interesting. I've never done that before, but it's a good challenge. And that's the idea of building Cartesi on Bitcoin.
That's
Using VM, yeah.
That's impressive, and let's see who is getting the prizes after this experiment week. And by the way, if anyone wants to join, or Diana, if you want to jump on board, everyone is welcome to build alongside our Cartesians and just to jump on Discord. And would you like to share a bit more also, Nyaki, about your work as a developer? You're also the only woman at the table, like Diana was saying. Can you share more about your work in Zippy for anyone that is curious?
As I said before, I started at ZPS. I was a Web2 developer, but got a chance to be a software tester. And given that it's a company like that builds Web3 related products, I had to learn a lot and very fast about blockchain and Web3. I think it took me like, I had to learn like very fast so I can be able to test. I'm still still assisting in testing and also in development. What I've seen like a change with shifting from software QA into development, you kind of like have this mentor idea. When writing code, you have to write like quality code, because like you have this mentality of like you want something of quality into your software. Though like this is like a normally not talked about topic, or kind of like a can say like an opportunity in tech, being a software QA. There is a lot to test in Web3 and also in Web2, but normally you wouldn't hear a lot of people saying that they're into software testing or QA field. And this is kind of like like an empty vacant for people to get into, because obviously we want quality products and quality code. So right now like I'm into development, but still assisting in software testing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing with us. And like, if we started to already talk about past and present hackathons, like I'm sure some of our community members remember Think and Dev and our Cartesians participating in their hackathons, King and Devs in Argentina, right? So hope this won't be the last time. And if we have Geraldine with us, let's hear more from you. Like, what did Think and Dev up to these days? And tell us more about your role among devs at Think and Dev.
Well, first of all, I wanted to remark and say that Cartesi was the first technology that trusted us with King of Devs, which is the name of our hackathons here in Argentina. And right now we are extending it to the whole Latin America. Well, I'm gonna to talk about that later on, but we are now in Argentina, Venezuela, Brazil, and Uruguay, so it's getting kind of huge. But we are really thank you with Cartesi for trusting us. And I mean, it opened a door for us to get into the hackathons world. So it's been an amazing journey for us.
This is great. Yeah, and I see you have a double mission here: onboarding more developers and onboarding Spanish speakers.
Yes, I'm representing every Spanish speakers. Then we can do this all again in Spanish. No, I'm kidding. I'm not a dev. I wanted to say that I'm not actually a dev, but one of our women devs, Mer, had just submitted a proposal for Cartesi, which it's totally worth mentioning. She's brilliant. She's from La Plata too. La Plata, the city, the capital of Buenos Aires. So she speaks Spanish too. She's one of the best devs that we have at Think and Dev, and she also has a PhD in astronomy, which I think, she may be one of the most brilliant minds that I've ever met. So I think it's totally worth mentioning it. And I'm gonna read the name of the project because it's too long for me to remember it, but it's an AI-powered system for detecting license plate violations on vehicles. So go vote for us for Mer's project, which is amazing. It's going to be amazing, and don't miss the opportunity to read what it's about. And then we are running also Brainy Path, which is an integral program that helps and encourages people to create their first Web3 startup from zero to hero, as we like to say. It involved lots of steps. We are kind of the halfway through it, but it included a thinkathon, which was a brainstorming session in community, workshops from all of the technologies that are participating in this program. We even helped teams to come together at the Passes Market, as we called it. Now we're having the hackathons. As I said, the one in Argentina already happened last week. And we are having next week the one in Venezuela. And in November, we're hosting the one in Brazil and the one in Uruguay. So if you're in Latin America, you still can join us for the Brainy Spot. Don't miss it because it's going to be amazing. It's being amazing actually because it's happening. This Thursday, it's starting an incubation process of about 10 weeks, which people could already apply for. But if you haven't and you want to participate, you can still apply for next year's. So you're not going to lose anything if you're listening right now and you want to join us. And then after the incubation program in December, it's going to happen the end game, as we call it, which is a pitch day in front of very important VCs from around the world. So you can even get funding for your startup. So it's a really great and huge program that we're running, and we are really, really happy to be doing this for Latin America. That we are far away from the world, but we want to bring the world to us.
This is amazing. So many initiatives, and I think this is an important mission for Latin America as well. And having dedicated like content and events in languages other than English, it's another important piece of the puzzle for fostering adoption, and absolutely important. And I also, as we are like talking about the importance of this support system, and I do think these initiatives are very important, as well as organizations that support this onboarding for more females in the space. And as we dive deeper, we have here Tracy from her DAO, and I want to hear more from you. I think like women nowadays are lucky to have these DAOs and all these initiatives going on in place compared to when I joined, for example, and when I look back. So if we are like starting to talk about this, what will be some challenges that you see newbies are facing in this industry? Well, English might be one, like, right? What else you're seeing in the space from her DAO, Tracy?
Yeah, so we actually deal with a lot of new people. Like Herd Out is very much about supporting especially women builders from the start of their journey all the way to building hackathon projects and starting companies. So, we're very kind of experienced now in supporting the newcomer. So, from what we've seen, it's literally just it can be the challenge. The first challenge is just the environment, right? There's new language, there's new culture. We still use a quite esoteric sort of language in this space, which can be overwhelming or off-putting for like new people, because we're so used to just using terms, but to other people we're like speaking a completely different language, and some of the solutions are like mentorship is like super super important, so to have this sort of body system, and in terms of making things accessible and easy, we can use plain language. I mean, you don't really need to use jargon really to explain anything. And like for us to be builders and supporters, it's not only our job to make products frictionless, but we can make this space frictionless as well for newcomers, so they feel welcome and more inclined to sort of stick with it. Another sort of challenge is, I think it was Diana who talked about the lack of confidence, and that's like either in skills or just actually just asking for help or sort of reaching out, and like people do talk about imposter syndrome a lot with women, but others will say it's kind of entirely appropriate really to have that reaction in new surroundings, right? So one of the solutions we've kind of come across or we see, it's like just merely being around other sort of successful, thriving women. You can gain confidence from just being in that sort of environment. Joining communities obviously like HerDAO, really important. So there's more experienced women that can take you under their wing. And obviously we do that in HerDAO a lot. We focused on mixed ability teams, for example, in hackathons. So women can get experience of building and being productive straight away, but with tons of support. Another thing we have a coding club, and that can actually take the pressure off the sort of time constrained building of a hackathon. People love that sort of pressurized atmosphere and no sleep and all of this kind of thing, and it is an experience. But some people have different lifestyles and can't sort of do it, so to kind of help them in a non sort of pressurized hackathon environment, we can help people build at their sort of own pace. And we're actually really concentrating now on building that, on really creating that ethos of continuous building, and that culture of always sort of upskilling rather than just hackathons. So forming effective support systems and being empathetic as well to someone's circumstances is super important. We always sort of say in terms of inclusion, we want to start from where people are.
I think this is so beautifully said, to start from where people are and being more empathetic in this space. And I think this space, until a certain point, is doing a great job of being welcoming. And whenever you join an event or any initiative, everyone is willing to help, to share what they know. So I think we are on a good path, right? And I love what you said about making the space frictionless. And how can we help more here? How can Cartesi do more to help this quest for better representation in the space?
Well, there are a few things, but when people ask me this question, I just say resources, resources, resources. Everybody knows that women are crying out for resources. And the thing is, when you provide adequate resources to women and marginalized people, you really help them to provide, opportunities for themselves, for agency, for self-determination, you know. And sometimes it's more than just a tech focus. People from marginalized communities may need help with equipment. They may need help with travel, stipends whilst building. You can make some bounties more accessible and easy to achieve, for people with junior skills, making non-tech bounties more of the norm, so more people can participate. But yeah, it's really just providing those resources, please. And I think what I'm concentrating on right now is more of the pipeline for Web2 devs to feel comfortable and to be efficiently onboarded into Web3.
Makes sense. And here I think Cartesi is doing its part, right, with our architecture, with our infrastructure, with the toolbox that it brings mainstream programming languages, so components from traditional software development that they're already familiar with. So it's not much left until they can build with traditional software tools for the blockchain. And you said about resources also. I remember we've been proudly supporting women to participate in the San Francisco hackathon. We had a full house of HerDAO Latam hackers, and this raises a question: what are the next steps? Any hackathons these days? All the roads seems to be leading to Istanbul. Are HerDAO hackers participating in Istanbul? And you have any plans?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's literally our life. Traveling around the world, and going to a lot of Ethereum ecosystem sort of conferences. But obviously, Istanbul Dev Connect is a very large sort of event for everyone. So yes, we'll be going there. We're going to do a build hour with Metis. So Herdao Turkey are going to be leading with that. I think we're also going to do like a Women Trailblazers event within the Phoenix Guild. Zero Knowledge event where we will be presenting our women trailblazers kind of like segment where it's like women founders get to introduce their startups. We did this in Singapore and it was so uplifting to see so many quality projects with traction. It was just like lovely. And obviously we have, well, not obviously, but we do give a lot of money away. And so we have grants for this one. So we always try and help women to attend conferences and hackathons. So there's travel grants available now. So you can head over to Herdao Twitter, take a look at those offers there. And if anyone is in Bali or needs help with their startup, please apply for the Startup House program. So yeah, we're just super excited about Herdao and our activities and the next sort of evolution of Herdao and supporting marginalized builders.
Very nice, very nice. Lots of activities lined up for DevConnect in Istanbul. And here goes another invitation from our side for everyone from Herdao and for everyone present here. Like on November 13 in Istanbul, we are hosting a great event and everyone is welcome to join. We'll be together with Fuel Protocol bringing the VM Day, like all about alternative virtual machines on Ethereum. An event with great speakers and great views of the Bosphorus Strait as well. So, like here you have another invitation for everyone in Istanbul. And actually, I met Goksu, the local community lead of Herdao from Istanbul. I met her in Barcelona earlier this year. So shout out to her and Herdao Turkey. And yes, exciting days ahead, and we'll connect again in Istanbul. And now like hope to see more also in the hackathon Ethereum Global Istanbul, more hackers building with Cartesi and even getting some bounties, because there is a pool already of more than $200,000. So definitely a nice pool for everyone to join, for all the female builders to sign up. And here let's pay it forward, Diana, how Herdao hackers can get on the stage as finalists to give us all the tips and tricks. And apart from building with Cartesi, because jokes aside, I don't know if everyone knows, but we actually had a team in the finals for both hackathons after Lisbon. So for Paris and New York, we got a project built with Cartesi as hackathon finalists. So there might be something here. I don't know.
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because it's the new things that people want to see. And so there's this whole space that's been opened up by like bringing all of the existing to start off with, I think the crypto space had to like rebuild everything that already existed in the Web2 space. Whereas now it's like, oh, how about we just don't reinvent the wheel on all of these things? We just bring things like use Cartesi as this bridge, which means you've just unlocked a whole continent, right? And that's how I went into it with ETH Global Lisbon was like, what's going to be exciting for people? What do people what's the intersection of things that I want to work on and things that people might be excited to see exist? And that's part of why I find hackathons to be a really I don't know, just such a different weekend compared to the rest of my life, is that for one weekend you're a little founder. You have to pitch someone on your idea, and you have to you have to be very selective on like how you spend your time, and only work on things that advance this like narrative that you're trying to convince people of. And these are skills that I then take back to my life as a roboticist on medical devices, and I'm a better like developer because I can communicate my ideas and I can stay on these guardrails of not having time to just like polish everything. You just want to work on prototypes. So my actual strategy is like, think about the pitch that you're going to give at the end of the weekend. and work backwards from that. If you're about to spend half an hour doing something that won't contribute any additional value to the pitch, don't spend time on that. Like if the motivation is to the goal is to like make a compelling pitch. If the goal is to like discover all new things, then like go down all the rabbit holes you want. But definitely honing in with that like laser focus of like what will be inspiring to companies. Like if it's the sponsors who are going to put like reimburse you for your travel costs, for example, give them something that they can, be excited about for their community, and that showcases actually what their technology can do in a way that people haven't seen before.
That's nice, and I love the working backwards method. So to start from the pitch and from the goal and from the main idea that has to make sense in front of the judges. Because here, if we move forward, I want to move forward to to Valaska, because we actually met at one of the Cartesi events in Barcelona, and then again at Ethereum Barcelona Hackathon, where she was part of the organizers. And I must confess that that was my first hackathon where I participated as a hacker, and I'm not a coder, but still our team managed to score a prize. So I can definitely relate to what Diana was saying, because I helped with the pitching, with the presentation. So that was my contribution. And I cannot stress this enough, that all profiles are very welcome and everyone can bring value to a hackathon. And here I want to leave Val to take over and to tell us all about her works at hackathons, and yeah, like advices for newbies who are willing to participate in hackathons and events in general.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cynthia. Well, yes, actually, I think that the beauty of Web3 is that anybody can participate. You don't need to be a dev. You don't need to really understand what's going on with the tech. You will understand it as you go. What is needed is a lot of organization, like a lot of logistics. So if you have that, then it's easier to find your way around. If you know about even like graphic design or marketing, community building, engaging audiences, networking, all of that is very much needed. And yeah, I think if you have all of these soft skills, you will have a place in Web3. Not only in a hackathon, like Cynthia was saying, even if you're not a dev, you can participate in a hackathon and you can win a prize because you can help the team to actually, and maybe while they're developing, you can prepare the presentation, or you can find ways to pitch it. Sometimes developers are not the best pitchers, so you can help there. And yeah, and there are so many other ways you can participate. Like if you don't want to participate in a hackathon, like I did participate in an online hackathon for ETH Woman at ETH Toronto. That was this August. But yeah, it was an online experience. I wanted to see how it was like from the other side, and I managed to win a prize. And I'm not a dev, so that was very nice. And but also participating as an organizer, then you get to see, like for me, it's a lot of fun because you get to meet all of the people, all of the hackers, the mentors, the judges, the sponsors, other organizers. Like it's very fun to be in this position because you get a clear overview of everything that's going on. It's very stressful. Like, don't go in if you cannot manage this kind of stress. But it's very nice, and from my perspective, it's like the best way to learn. When you're with the judges at the end of the hackathon, and like you hear all of the judges discussing about the project, and they're all giving their opinions, and trying to find ways, like to find to which project should be the winner. That is amazing. Like I was always thinking, like, if we could record these conversations and actually post them online, this would be amazing because it's so rich in material, because you have all of these experts, like saying why this is a good project, why this is not a good project, why this I don't know, this was missing something, and that is very good, and that is something you only get to see when you're part of the organization. So if you're into that, just go for it. It's a good way to learn about the technology, about the project, about what's needed out there, what's the community looking for, and yeah, that is very good. And I think not only in hackathons, like even if you do meetups or conference, just create a space for people to speak. I think there is a need out there for people to have real conversations about technology. I think a lot of people are excited. We're all excited about Web3, but there are also some concerns about blockchain, about AI, and I think we all need to give a space to the community to have those conversations. And sometimes these are like tough conversations, the tough discussions we need to have. And if you create that environment, magic will happen because people will just take over. We just hosted a debate in Spain, and it was amazing. Like people were sitting on the floor and they were talking to each other. It was an amazing Spanglish because some of the attendees, they didn't speak Spanish, some others they didn't speak English, and everybody managed to understand each other, and everybody was participating. So yeah, it's like if you create these spaces, then that is also a very good way to learn faster, from the wisdom of the audience. So yeah, like if you're a learner and if you like to organize things, I would say like just go into events. You can start doing things online on your own, or you can join a project like Cartesi, or you can join some other project that's doing stuff that's educating people, and just learn from that, and then you will get connections. Try interviewing other people, like this panel we're having here, where we're getting to meet amazing people, and this is the best way to also make your connections. To be honest, like I didn't know that many people before I joined Web3. Like my LinkedIn was off, my Twitter, I didn't care about Twitter at all, and now like I have so many connections and my network has grown so much, and it just happened in the span of like a year and a half, 2 years. So it really goes that fast in Web3. So yeah, just like tapping on to into the network, and just getting the best out of it, and contributing and building up opportunities for other people as well.
This is super valuable. Thank you, Val. And it's valuable to hear from the other side of the hackathon, from the organizers, from the judges. And hackathons are such a learning experience in the end. And actually, I noticed that this space, our gathering today, it's actually full of hackathon winners. Even non-devs got prizes. So perhaps it's not that difficult in the end, right? Everyone should dare to just participate. And one last thing I'm curious about, from your experience, are you seeing the gap being bridged between women and male participations? It is getting better?
Well, yes, actually we were surprised, and to be honest, and well, I have to be the one with the unpopular opinion here, because we tried to reach out to different women organizations in Spain, and we didn't really get a lot of support to bring women into the hackathon. So at the end, we just let go. We had so much work that we didn't really like marketed the hackathon specifically for women. It was just open to everybody, and at the end, we had so many women show up, like the sponsors, mentors, judge. Everybody was so surprised to see a woman, at least one woman in most of the teams. Some of the teams had two women, and I think, I mean, although we didn't market it for women, the fact that we were two women founders, and I think it was also, well, we talked to some of the women, and they said that it was like the look and feel of the website, and uh, the copywriting, like how it was written, and how it was, like the invitation was made, and how the social media was put, basically, that they just felt like there was a space for them there, and this is why they joined. So I think that that helped, although we didn't market it specifically for women, and we made it in Spain. So I do think there's a lot of more work to do there, because there is a lot of talk in Web3 about communities. but when it's time to do the community, not everybody shows up. But yeah, like whoever is really in for the community and is willing to support, I think we can make it. And there is still, of course, some work to do, but I think the results we got in Spain were really great for the hackathon. Like just having women show up and be a part of the experience was really amazing for us.
Sure, we can make it. That's the conclusion. We can make it, and we're close to our to the final of our session. And I feel like I could chat with all of you and prolong the space till tomorrow, right? And I love how Geraldine mentioned her colleague. Maybe we should do another space. We should do this like a series. And I love women lifting other women. And kudos to you for mentioning your colleague there at Think and Dev. And I feel, you know how they say, time is money. We are already past 1 hour. So let's touch on another important topic for builders, money and funding. Because there might be a lot of talented builders around, but not with enough resources to dedicate their time and actually build and take their ideas off the ground, right? So I think this is another aspect very important for onboarding developers and, of course, female developers team even more. And here I think Cartesi is coming to meet this need with different initiatives. And I want to let everyone know and to launch this invitation for more female developers that we just launched our seed grants. And these are smaller discretionary grants up to 5K for incentivizing developers to build smaller projects or tooling components and to get this funding easier, right? Then with the other vertical that we have, community grants program with the proposals that actually go to a voting stage. And these initiatives actually come to complement this community grants program. And Geraldine was mentioning a proposal that everyone can find it from Think and Dev on our forum, governance.cartesi.io. And I want to invite Helen here to tell us more about CGP, the goals, and what amounts are we talking about, and what lies ahead for anyone willing to build with Cartesi and take some funding for it.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. Yeah, I feel like one of the problems that we have in general is funding. Like, let's say if you have this really cool idea and you want to get it to life or build it, funding, especially in Web2, is so hard. But then when you come to Web3, you find that cool projects like Cartesi, they have this like their code is open source. You can basically use it to build whatever you want. And that really, to me, that idea of having open source software as a public good is really amazing. And also to add that you can easily get funded for your idea. And that is what Cartesi Grants program is for. The mission is to attract builders building novel applications, or let's say you have an idea and you want to build your project using Cartesi and create impact. The CGP is a really good way for you to be able to do that. And also talking about hackathons, like if you participated on an hackathon and built a project and you would like to scale the project, CGP is also a really good place for you to get funded. And one of the things that we've been able to introduce recently was we have a new grants council that is in charge of now streamlining the approval process once you apply for a grant. And yes, we one proposal actually just passed recently for DCA Monster, which is building modular DeFi components for Cartesi. And also, as Geraldine had mentioned, we have the Think and Dev project that is building AI license plate detector. And it's really such a cool project that is showcasing what is possible with Cartesi virtual machine. And essentially, yeah, the goal is to get more people building on Cartesi and experimenting. So if you have an idea and or generally a project and want to get funded and build some cool stuff in Web3, feel free to reach out to me or go to the governance forum and post your applications, and I'm happy to give you guidance in case you want to get help when applying your proposal.
Thank you, Helen. And this is really important. So we have founding, we also have mentorship. If anyone needs help, just jump on our Discord. Our Cartesians are always happy to help. So basically, there is in place a support system. So you have everything you need. So we are waiting more proposals, more female builders. And for anyone not knowing, Helen actually joined Cartesi a bit more than 1 month ago as the new grants steward. And this is actually super exciting as we are getting more women involved on different verticals on Cartesi. So we are actually bridging this gap in practice as well. And I'll share something that I know from Helen, that when she joined, an important part of her beginning in Web3 was actually becoming part of a female community. So can you share more here? Would you advise women to start this way and to search a safe space like this? Because we have here her DAO, we have Think and Dev, we have Block and Chain, we have a lot of communities here. So would you advise to start like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, when I joined crypto, I was so scared about like, where do I start? What are people doing? What is possible? And I joined She256, which is another space for women. And I also joined Hada. I probably interacted with other members there. And I really like the idea that, we have these spaces for women that makes people feel safe, and it's like you are allowed to figure out what is happening in Web3 and make sense of everything. And having these spaces like HADAO really provides that space for women. And also I would like to say, please join any organization or anything like HADAO, get to know people, know what they are doing. And also a really good way to figure out what you can do in the space, it's also through building. So, which is also what I started with as well with ENS, where I'm not a developer as well. And I had all these ideas of what I can build, having learned what is possible with blockchain. And I basically teamed up with someone and told them, hey, I have this an idea. What do you think? And I ended up building something really cool. And for me, I also see that as a really good way. And it's also what the CGP program is for, to provide you with this space for you to be able to experiment and see what is possible in the space, and also what you can build with Cartesi.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Helen. And we are a bit over 1 hour now. And thanks everyone for staying with us until now. Time has passed so quickly because the conversation was amazing and super interesting. And let's try quickly to take some questions. If our listeners have any question, please raise your hand, like ask to speak from the microphone button. And our speakers will love to address your questions. And if no one has yet a question, I might have a question because something just came to mind. And I'm wondering what's next for you, Diana. Are you staying in Web3 or continuing in Web2 or choosing the best from both worlds? Or will Web2 become eventually Web3 entirely?
Yeah, I mean, at some point you don't have a choice, I imagine. Well, especially with the fusion. Like, I think the fusion that Cartesi allows, like the what is that called in chemistry? Like osmosis. They will just become one thing over time. So the choice, it doesn't matter what I say. That's the reality. But just while I'm here, I wanted to address an anticipated question, or at least things that so working like as an advocate for women in technology, I get met sometimes with just genuine confusion sometimes about like why spaces for like women to connect with other women is important. And so I'm going to ask a question on behalf of the audience that I see is like made up not just of women here, of like, why is it that there is this like intimidation to start with? And why is that? Why is like making it easier for people to like feel comfortable in these spaces? Like, why is that different to lowering the bar? I think that people sometimes get these confused, and so I just wanted to point out that there's a whole, well, as for why, that's a very, it's a long topic, and so perhaps that's not even the relevant part. What's relevant is like, that is the case in my experience. Like, I prefer to be in places where I'm not, I guess, so like aggressively outnumbered. And to be at the Lisbon hackathon, it was really a throwback to like studying electrical engineering and being so outnumbered. And if this is like the environment that we invite people into, and that's not something that everyone wants to sign up for, then you've lost a lot of people in your funnel, where we need developers who are willing to learn these things. And so it's about almost like listening to the customer of like, what do people need? Okay, they need to feel comfortable, like regardless of why that is, how do we make that happen? And so there's this I just want to take my hat off to all of the organizations here that are listening to that need, rather than saying like, oh, well, that's just like that why should we make it easier for some people? And it's like, until you have experienced what it is like to genuinely be like 1 in 100, you might not be able to, feel it in your bones what that experience is like. But if you don't like listen to that, then the impact is that you lose access to fantastic developers. And this is, I think, where people mistake sometimes confidence for actual capability and competence, which is a real shame if that's it comes from all of our social conditioning that this is why we think that way. So I just wanted to call light to that. If that ever crossed anyone's mind of like, oh, but if women aren't confident, then maybe they're not the sort of people that we want in the community anyway. And it's like, there's a really big difference between being confident, which I'm often not, and being competent, which I have been since my entire career. And it's definitely a complicated space, but I'd be happy to field questions in that realm if it's still a mystery to some people, because it's not obvious if you haven't lived it.
Absolutely, I think it's a very important point you raised, that sometimes confidence it's different than expertise, and this space deserves a second part to chat about all this, because until you don't feel it in your bones to be the only girl around and everyone to look at you like, what are you doing here? I understand you, and I think it will get better in time. Like, we are all aiming for this adoption, right? And people are starting to see, and we don't want to lose amazing developers, as you said. Like, with this preconception, we can lose like important builders. And ladies, I love our chat. I think we should do this more often, but it's getting really late, and our audience will like to wrap this up. And I want to go to do another round with all the speakers, like any important thing that we forgot to mention for any woman that is listening now and it's willing to get involved in Web3 but still hesitating. Like, apart from, I don't know what you'll say, like, apart from like, just do it. Okay, that's mine, just do it. So what other advice would you give?
I for the part of, on behalf of Think and Dev, I agree with Dean just said, but we always say that we have to beat the imposter syndrome that everybody has. I mean, everybody has imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. So you have just to go and see what happens. No one's gonna kill you in a hackathon, for instance. So you can go and see what that's about, and maybe it's not that hard, as we said before. So, I mean, there's many women that are amazing in this world, and I think you can have one for the role model and go for it. I mean, follow her steps. So yeah, that's it for me.
Nicely said. And once I heard that the imposter syndrome, it's actually an indication that you are growing. So this is important because it's not something negative. You're growing, and like you're not feeling comfortable in what you're doing because you're out of your comfort zone where magic happens, right? Where you learn, where you grow. So I think we should accept it and embrace it because it's an indication that we are growing. And what other advices you want to? Who wants to go next? Helen, you have
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, for me, I would also like to add on the same point and say that I know sometimes it can feel like everyone in Web3 knows what they are doing and you don't, but the truth is everyone is still figuring things out, and Web3 is also like a very evolving space. A lot changes, so it's okay to not know everything. So yeah, just start, just do it. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Absolutely. It's okay not to know everything. And I see Diana pinned a post there for everyone, like in a hackathon or planning to build with Cartesi or planning to apply for a grant on our governance program. Check the pin tweet, full of amazing resources. You want to share a bit more, Diana, what you just pinned?
Yeah, sometimes I speak to people. So, still on this idea of like getting intimidated, a lot of the time it can be because you're overwhelmed. Like, where do I start? And so, I don't have like a cookie cutter, um, like, this is the best way to get into crypto, but I can share the specifics of how I got into it, which ends up being important to some women that I've spoken to. So, I made this link tree. It's called linktr.ee/how do I blockchain. And that's like the exact book that I read on the plane. That's like the exact link where you can look at the application form for these hackathons and see that they have a field there of like, do you know nothing? Cool, you're still welcome. I think that this is these details sometimes are important if you're feeling overwhelmed. Like, pick something from that list and just investigate. Make your one action item to just like investigate something specific that you can grab onto, and then that's the seed that will then it could potentially turn into a whole new career.
Absolutely. That could turn out into something, a big career, a new career path, and a new life in the end. Val, you want to add something as we wrap this up?
Yes, I wanted to add something to what has already been said. Don't be afraid of the bear market. I know we all need resources, but it's normal. Things go down and then they go up. If you build during a bear market, if you build your network or your portfolio or your experience in these times, then when the bull run comes, so we're all waiting for that, then everything will be just better. So don't be afraid of the bear market.
Great, that's a good one. Niakio, Geraldine, any final words for our listeners today?
Well, I think I would say like communities cannot be stressed enough. I think in my journey, communities, joining communities and participating really helped me, and also trying to get to build something. If you're into development, getting your hands dirty and trying to build something, even when you feel like you can't do it, just try to build it. Yep.
Absolutely. And our experiment week at Cartesi, it's in full swing. So join our Cartesi community to build and to keep in touch. And Geraldine, any final words?
I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me and all these amazing women to join to this space. And I mean, this is just a little bit of a taste what women can do when we got together. So let's keep building, girls. And I don't know, girl power. Thank you
Power,
so
and
much.
let's keep building and let's keep going. And please, everyone, from our listeners, from the audience, follow our amazing speakers, like to keep in the loop, to get inspired, to see what they're up to follow their initiatives. So please follow their profiles to keep in touch, and see you next in our Cartesi community channels. And that will be it. That's a wrap. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you so much for staying 20 minutes past 1 hour. And until next time, keep in touch. Bye for now.